Am I the a-hole for laughing at my brother-in-law's income? I, 35 female, met my husband Ray, 35 male, about 12 years ago. He was a junior engineer at the time, but he was perceptive, considerate, funny, and just overall my ideal guy. The only thing I didn't like was the way he and his brother Pete, now 38 male, interacted. Pete loves to talk about how successful he is and his friends were, and undermines Ray's accomplishments as that's good for your age. Ray overlooks it because he wants to be supportive of his brother. At the time, I wanted to say something about Pete's arrogance, since not only was I not impressed by his income, it's not a secret that Pete is noticeably uglier, inside and out, than his younger brother. I didn't because Ray preferred I let it be. Pete continues to do this for the next 12 years. I tried hinting that we're all doing well and this is an awkward topic, but Pete brushed it off with patronizing, saying like, "You'll get there." Fast forward to now, we're all married with children. 2 weeks ago, Pete with his wife and son dropped by for a visit since Pete was on a business trip. Within a couple hours, Pete starts bragging about his recent raise. He's finally broken X $100,000 per year, and his wife will be going for a promotion that will land her around Y $100,000 per year. Ray was just as supportive as he usually is. Then Pete goes, "You'll get there eventually." Our son, who is playing nearby with Pete's son, stopped and asked if that's a lot. Pete's son said, "Yeah, duh." And I said, "No." Pete then laughed and told me to not set too high of an expectation for my children. So, and this is where I might be the a-hole, I laughed and said, "If you must know, X $100,000 is what we paid in taxes last year." Pete and his wife went silent, and Ray tried to change the subject. Then Pete suggested that we should get a new accountant because that's way too much for Texas. I lost my patience and asked him how much he thought our job titles should pay in Texas, or if he was still under the impression that his little brother is an entry-level engineer. Admittedly, it was not my best moment, but I really disliked him for trying to put down my husband in front of my son. After they left, I got a text from Pete about how I owe him an apology for embarrassing him in front of his son. I told him I will not, but I'm happy to never speak of income again if he will stop bringing it up in front of my son. Ray agrees with me, but asks a favor to let Pete talk in the future as long as it's not in front of the kids. He says his brother has some self-esteem issues, and if it makes Pete feel better to pretend he's more successful than Ray, Ray's okay with it. I really don't see the need to keep babysitting an almost 40-year-old man's ego, and frankly, I don't want a man anywhere near my son. But as I don't have a sibling with a self-esteem issue, I don't know if I'm overreacting. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You are super patient. 12 years. I wouldn't have lasted one. To be honest, it was tempting to go off on him earlier, especially after his toast at our wedding that made my dad almost throw him out. But the only reason I didn't was because my husband made it funny later and we ended up laughing it off. Wait, Pete did this patronizing stunt at your wedding? You might need to tell your husband point blank that his relationship with his brother is incredibly unhealthy, and it's toxic that they are teaching their sons to continue this dynamic as cousins. It started as an okay toast but got condescending and ended with a "not bad for a bachelor's degree, right? Brother-in-law has a PhD." My dad got angry because 1, rude, and 2, he doesn't like PhDs. But people chilled after my husband made some jokes about his brother being convoluted/hard to understand, and ended with "not bad for a PhD, right?" That said, my son will be spending less time with brother-in-law's son until habits improves. It sounds like your husband may have normalized his role of being his brother's punching bag, and then smoothing it over in front of company so no one holds brother-in-law accountable. Obviously, I don't know these people, and so you'd be able to tell if this is accurate or off base. Your husband might need to be reminded that everyone gets insecure and jealous, but most people learn healthy ways of processing, not taking cheap shots during a wedding speech or raising your son to look down on his poor, as brother-in-law assumed you were, cousins. Not the a-hole at all. It sounds like brother-in-law is getting worse over time, and that's probably because no one shut down his behavior before. Better late than never. You shut that nonsense down. Don't apologize. And if he doesn't see the problems with his behavior, tell him not to worry. He'll get there eventually. I'm definitely borrowing your line if this doesn't come down. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving for uni without telling my parents? Anyway, I'm female 19 and literally just moved out of my family home. By just, I mean today, in the morning. I thought my decision was right, but one of my new flatmates thinks I'm in the wrong, so I need some impartial opinion. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings. I have 5 younger brothers and I lived with them and my parents. My parents had me very young. They were both 16 at a time. And from the very young age, I was expected to babysit them, take care of them, and help with a lot of chores. My brothers never had to do any chores whatsoever. When I went to secondary school, I started questioning things. And when I started 6th form, my parents suggested I quit because I won't be going to university anyway since I have to help with my brothers, as my mother won't be able to do so alone. I did my A-levels anyway. I tried talking to my parents about university plans, but they kept telling me to drop it because I'm staying. I, however, was adamant that I want to go. I was to apply for financing as an independent student, without them taking my parents' income into consideration. It was very difficult, but I managed it, and I had all correspondence sent to my friend's address. Anyway, with all finance sorted, academic year is about to start, and my uni had moving-in day today until the end of the week. In the morning, when my parents went out and my siblings went to school, I packed everything I needed, like clothes and basic necessities, left a letter I prepared, and left without them knowing, getting a train to my university town. I had to do it that way because they wouldn't let me go. I've had countless of phone calls from them since the morning. I've picked up once, and they shouted at me, demanding I come back or tell them where exactly I am. I didn't give them my address. I didn't pick up other phone calls, and I thought I was right about this. But when I told my flatmates, one of them called me an a-hole and that my parents are probably worried sick, and I should give them my address at the very least. Now I don't know. Am I the a-hole for leaving so suddenly? You're never the a-hole for escaping abuse. Your flatmate is young and maybe hasn't experienced the type of background you just came from. I wouldn't take their comments to heart. If you had told them in advance, they absolutely would have stopped you and messed up your education. If you give them your address, you can bet everything you have that they'll show up at your door to drag you back. I hope you thrive and have a wonderful time at uni. I'm not sure if anyone has told you this yet, but I'm proud of you. What you did wasn't easy and took a lot of strength and courage. You're absolutely not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but I would stop telling your flatmates anything if that's how they respond. You can let them know that any way a person escapes a harmful situation is okay, and that your parents know you left and that you're safe, and that's all that matters. With that said, if possible, I'd get another phone, change your number, and get rid of your old phone. They can track it, especially if it's on their phone plan, in some situations, and I doubt they will easily let go of their free babysitter and free labor. They will harass you forever. Cut them off completely. And be careful who you tell about your home situation moving forward. Information is power. Sometimes when we're in unhealthy environments, we tend to talk to anyone who seems to have a sympathetic ear, but you need to make sure these people are trustworthy people first. If there's a free school counselor, I'd make an appointment with them instead. And never tell your family where you are. If you keep in contact with your siblings and they push for info, I'd have another university picked out with basic information that you can say enough about to have a convincing story. A university far from where you actually are. Not the a-hole. Please let your school know the situation and have them lock down your info. Also, call the police for both your town and the school to make them aware you are safe, an adult, and you are fleeing from a horrible environment. That you are concerned for your safety, possible retaliation, and being brought home and held against your will. If you do not do this, your parents will end up getting info and address from you and the police will be at your door. If you do not have your birth certificate on you, they may try physically detain you at the police station and let your parents know where you are. Once the school is made aware and both police stations, please tell your roommates that you are fleeing a horrible situation and that allowing your parents to know where you are is safety risk. It would also be helpful to call a few key relatives to let them know your side of the story and that you are safe. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my daughter after she pawned a family heirloom? I have 3 daughters, Lucy, female 21, Diane, female 17, and Rosa, female 15. Their father, my husband, unfortunately passed away in a work accident 11 years ago. We were all devastated, and it was a terrible shock. We were able to get by with my parents helping out with the kids so that I could work. We're doing much better now financially. However, I've been having a lot of problems with Lucy. Not long after she turned 18 and finished school, she's suddenly gone off the rails, is mingling with some very sketchy people, and I don't know what to do with her. She's gotten into heavy smoking cigarettes and weed, partying at every opportunity, getting drunk every day, and I suspect she's been doing hard stuffs. She started treating the house like a bread and breakfast and is very disrespectful to me and her sisters. I didn't raise her to act like this, and I'm at my wit's end. I've tried to get her into rehab and therapy, but she just refuses to go and gets very angry when I bring it up. Lucy stays with us rent-free. She works a job in retail and buys her own groceries but blows the rest of her income. The last straw for me was something that happened 3 weeks ago. Diane and Rosa have pieces of very expensive jewelry that they inherited from their dad's mother after she passed away last year. The jewelry had been in the family for generations. Whilst they were at school, their pieces of jewelry went missing from their rooms. Diane and Rosa were incredibly upset when they noticed the jewelry was missing. I asked Lucy if she knew what happened to the jewelry. Lucy lied and said she didn't know. I pressed the issue and pointed out that she went partying and spent loads of money. And Lucy eventually admitted that she stole the jewelry and pawned it. Even though it was kind of obvious that it was Lucy, I was still shocked that she would do something like that. I told Lucy that this is it, and that I'm kicking her out. I told her that she needs to be out in 3 days. I didn't think it was fair on Diane and Rosa to keep someone like Lucy around when she keeps causing chaos and destruction in our home. And I was also worried about Diane and Rosa being influenced by her. Lucy left the next day and went to go stay with my parents, who were saying I'm a horrible mother for kicking Lucy out and that I'm clearly playing favorites. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. If they are heirlooms gifted to your daughters, you need to report the jewelry as stolen. Local police get pawn sheets from local pawn stores and check them against stolen property reports. Your daughter will probably get arrested because pawn shops take the IDs of people pawning goods, but you may be able to retrieve the jewelry. I don't think Opie is an a-hole for kicking her daughter out of the house, but I do think she will be one if she doesn't try to get the jewelry back. Not the a-hole. I wholly agree with this. Do not lose those family heirlooms that belong to your other daughters because of Lucy's dishonest behavior. I think Lucy pawned the jewelry for drug money. Both are correct. I am recovering, and being an addict doesn't absolve us from our actions. What it does mean is that we were sick. People get sober and try to atone for their actions, but whether the victim accepts it is up to them. We can't change the past. We are responsible for our past. We can try our best to make amends, and the rest is out of our hands. It's complicated because it's not simple. Not the a-hole. Your daughter has some things to figure out. Maybe she will, maybe she won't, but ultimately you still have 2 other non-destructive children to prioritize and care for. She's 21, and while you'll always be her mom, she's an adult and responsible for who she wants to be, where she wants to go, and what she wants to do. Meanwhile, you have actual minors to worry about. Hopping onto this comment to point out that Opie needs to check the credit reports of the younger children and herself. You need to make sure no credit card/identity theft has taken place. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my half of the rent? I, 19 female, have been living with a close friend, 19 female, since last December. We co-signed a lease so both our names are on paper for the place we're renting out, and we pay 50-50 for the rent. The lease was up a couple of months ago, but we were still making back-to-back monthly payments due to our agreement with our landlord. Everything was going good, up until a couple months ago when my roommate started acting differently. It started off with some small things, like when she'd have a bad day at work, she would get home and basically take it out on me, which fine, I can handle minor mood swings. I thought it would just be a temporary thing anyways. However, it gradually got worse. She was constantly mad at me and would look for anything to berate for, sometimes without even giving a reason why after. Not only that, but she kept acting like the place was solely hers. She would say things to mutual friends about how it was her place, therefore she had a final say in whatever happened to it, or who was welcome and who wasn't without even consulting me. I finally had enough, so I decided that it was time for me to move out. I gave our landlord my 1-month notice to be out by the end of September and told her about it the next day. She gave the landlord her 1-month notice about 2 weeks after I told her, but by then it was already September, so she informed him she would be gone by October. Even before I gave my notice to the landlord, I've been staying with a different friend, 20 male, so I haven't been there since almost a month ago now. The other day, she messaged me saying the rent was gonna be due for October and that I had to pay my half. But I told her, I'm afraid I can't do so as I gave my notice that I'd be gone by the end of September. She ended up getting mad and saying that this was not fair and that I'm totally screwing her over. I haven't even been living there for almost a month now, so I feel I shouldn't have to pay for a place that isn't mine anymore. But I do feel kind of bad about it. So am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my half of the rent? Not the a-hole. Your written lease had expired and you were operating under a month-to-month lease. You properly informed your landlord and co-tenant that you were not going to continue the lease and paid your portion of the final month of your lease. You did literally nothing wrong, legally or morally. Not today, Hall. You gave your 1 month notice on time and will be out in 1 month. She wanted the place to be solely hers, and that's what she got. Lol. Good luck, OP. Just from OP's other posts, the issues coincided with OP's boyfriend who was living there at a time picking up hard substances after running from his own addict parents. OP never posted a conclusion on if they kicked him out and how that all went down. I can definitely see why the roommates might have taken a stand on who's allowed through the door after that. We both mutually agreed to kick him out, and I ran everything by her before we let him move in. In no way did I ever treat it like it was both our place. I viewed us as equals, so I never did anything without consulting her first. Whereas she let her addict brother stay with us for months on end without even running it by me. Oof, yeah, I feel you were not the a-hole in regards to leaving or the lease. Just wasn't sure if the prior post had caused a change in her behavior. Completely understandable. However, I don't know what triggered a change. I wish I did, and I wish it was something we could have sorted out. But it doesn't seem that way as I've tried talking to her about it, and she said I was just lashing out and being dramatic.